Welcome to the Poetry Balls podcast with Tola. How are you all doing? I hope you are all good. And if you're not, I'm sorry to hear that. But I can't hear you, so I can't do anything about that. But yeah, my thoughts are with you if you are a little down. The This is going to be a little different. So I've come up with a new concept for the podcast, and it's called Story Time. It's going to be based on my work experience, the jobs I've had. So I'm going to be telling you stories about the jobs that I had when I finished university. Primarily, I'll be focused on the first job and the third job. Some kind of stick in my mind. I laugh, I shake my head when I think about them. But I kind of decided to write them down, and I realized that, I've got 10 stories. Some more racist than the other. But let's not get into that. The point is that I have 10 stories I'm going to share over the course of the first season. So the first season is going to be based on my first job, and the second season is going to be based on my third job, because I think those are where the two best stories can be gathered from. I would say the second job was kind of sedate and relatively calm. Not a lot to uncover there. Not that I'm trying to cover anything, I'm just going to tell you stories. Then, after I've told you the story, I'm going to analyze a poem, because this is called the Poetry Balls podcast. And I still want to do stuff around poetry because, well, that's what this is all about. But this is just a way to make it different and a little more interesting. Right. So I have 10 stories, and I think I've decided on which one I'm going to start with. So, here's the first story. I think this one kind of sticks in my mind because it was so, how do I put this? It was almost unnecessary, but it teaches you about life, yeah, and how to manage situations. So here's the first story. So I'm sat on my desk, I'm typing away, or maybe I'm just talking to someone. I don't know what I'm doing. But I'm sat on my desk. It's an afternoon. I'm wearing my suit and tie, And so let me set the scene. So in the office, I'm sat next to colleagues on both sides, and there's a manager who sits opposite me. There's like a panel in between the tables, and yeah, the dude is sat opposite me. So he's not sitting there at this point in time. I'm typing away, talking to someone, and he kind of comes up to me from somewhere. Maybe I appeared from the great beyond. I don't know where the hell it came from. But he comes up to me and he goes, "Oh, Tola, did you do this or that?" I don't know. This was a while ago, so I can't remember the details, and I don't want to give away names, and I don't want to give away sensitive information, right? But he said, "Did you do this? Did you do that?" And I said, "Oh, no, that's not part of my scope of work." It was a bit odd that he would ask me that, because that had nothing to do with what I was meant to do there. Anyway, he goes, "Do you do this? Do you do that?" I said, "No, that's not part of the scope of my work." And it kind of walks away. Then he comes back again and he goes, "Oh, Todd, did you do this? Did you do that?" It's like, again, that's not really what I do. Then he kind of looks at me. Then he kind of walks around the desk, to his seat, which is opposite mine, and he goes, "Tola, next time I ask you a question like that, you are supposed to say, 'Oh no, but how can I help you? What can I do for you?'" Of course, when he said that, I kind of looked at him like, "Wait, what?" I mean, I was young. Let's say I was young, and you're still trying to understand what the corporate environment is like. Where you're supposed to kind of step in, what sort of attitude you're supposed to have. That did not fall in line with my thinking. As you can tell, I get irritated easily by people who lord it over other people, and I felt he was trying to lord it over me. The tone in which he said what he said, the just what he said, the words he used, the disdain in his voice. This is my story. I'm sure he probably has his own perspective, but he does have a podcast, so that's too bad. But I felt, okay, I could either give a retort or I could stay silent. And I knew that if I said something, that would probably spiral out of control or get me into some sort of trouble because he was a senior manager. And again, like I said, I think there's probably some sort of etiquette that the corporate world operates by that I'm never ever gonna subscribe to or will even understand. Because when he kind of said, "You know what, next time I say something like that, make sure you say, 'How can I help you?'" Something like that. When he said that, I was like, "Nah, nah, I'm never gonna do that." And when he said that, he kind of looked at me dead in the eyes, and I looked at him dead in the eyes. And of course, I decided I wasn't gonna say anything. I just smiled. I was like, as he sat down, we're looking at each other. He smiled. I smiled. He just sat down, looking at me. I looked at him dead in the eyes, and I continued my work. I didn't say yes. I didn't say no. I just stayed silent because you can't quote me if I don't say anything, right? Well, that was an interesting experience. And after work that day, I felt, gosh, like, what was that? Because like I said, like I always say that, but um, it felt like he was hiding behind the culture of superiority in hierarchy. Like, you're a junior, I'm a senior, just to have a pop at me, especially when I'd already politely, I guess, politely or straightforwardly said, "You know what, this is not in my remit. This is not what my work is. I didn't know I was expected to also wipe your ass," and I don't intend on doing that. But at the same time, are you supposed to, okay, so you can go above and beyond, but when is it clear that someone is trying to take advantage of their position within the company? Well, my intuition told me that this guy was just being obnoxious. He never brought it up again. Um, However, after that workday, I felt that something wrong had happened. And I remember I was meeting my cousin that day. He was getting married, and we're gonna go suit shopping or something. And of course, I told him about the story. I told him what happened, and of course, he said that, yeah, that people like that, which is an obvious statement to make, but nonetheless true. Um, but yeah, that's the first story. It wasn't very long, But for some reason, it was something that kind of sticks out in my mind as what happened, what just happened, because it was a bit of a dress down. Um, it was an outburst on his part, which means everyone heard it, and it drew attention to me, which I don't like. It was potentially embarrassing as well if I was inclined that way. So yeah, it was a lot going on, and like I said, you've got this duality. It's the senior guy, but it's also is he taking advantage of his position? And does that matter? I think it does matter. Because he could have handled that situation better, and that was probably what my inclination was. That's probably what I was inclined to think because the whole thing just felt off. When I left that project, it was a project I was working on. He didn't so much as so. There were two juniors on the project. It was myself and another person, and he went up to the other person when the project ended or when we left the project and thanked this particular person profusely for their work, their contribution, blah blah blah, and said nothing to me. I don't know entirely what that reflects. I mean, I do, but the if you connect the dots together, you can kind of go, okay, I see where this individual is coming from. I know I can sense where his mind is regarding me, and that's fair enough. It's a corporate world, and you find all kinds of characters. But yeah, that was the first story. Yeah, make deductions as you see fit. It's a story for everyone to listen to and to digest and yeah, come up with your theories, your conspiracy theories. I don't know, as you do online. Um, the poem I'm going to be reading today is called "Where the" that I'm going to be analyzing is called "Where the Blessed Feet Have Trod" by a few people. What? All right, let's say it's by Edith Cooper. Right, so I'm going to read it and I'll try to figure it out. Or try to deduce what it could, whether there's any meaning that can be gleaned from this. All right, so where the blessed feet have trod. Not alone in Palestine, those blessed feet have trod, for I catch their print, I have seen their dent, on a plot of chalky ground, low villas dotted round, on a sea-worn waste, where a priest in haste passeth with the blessed sacrament to one dying, frail, through the yellow, okay, through the yellow, past the tamarisk, and the plated snail, bright upon the grass I see, bleeding feet of Calvary, oh dear, and I worship and I clasp them round on this beat of chalky English ground. Jesu, or Jesus, no, no, not Kanye, no, Jesus, thou art found. My God, I hail. My Lord, my God. Okay, so that was by Edith Cooper. So, what does this poem tell me? Well, let's start with the first line. Not alone in Palestine, those blessed feet have trod. So, I guess that's pretty self explanatory. Just basically saying that this doesn't, or this did not just occur in Israel and Palestine. That Christ walked divinely or walks divinely in many different areas, not just in Israel. So people tend to take excursions to Jerusalem, Israel, the promised land, to walk in the footsteps of Christ, because that's where he was 2,000 years ago. But she's basically saying, wow, I saw his footsteps in England, which is fascinating. So I'll carry on. Through the yellow past the tamarisk and the plated snail. Okay, so that's the first interesting imagery. Snail. Why is snail? And why is it? So plated, Plaitd. I don't know what that means, so let me try to figure out. Plated. Plate. Let me see what that means. Oh, okay. So it's not clear what the description is. It's like hair, straw, rope. Oh, plait, like a braid. Let me see. Okay, all right. Plait. I'm such an illiterate. All right, so that's plait. All right, all right. Fair enough. Fair enough. So a plaited snail. What's a plaited snail? Okay, so that's the first interesting thing that's crossed my mind. That I've come across. Bright upon the grass, I see bleeding feet of Calvary. So it's talking about Jesus, obviously dying on the cross. Okay, and I worship and I clasp them round. Okay, so his obviously. So he's seeing the image. He's seeing Christ on the cross, and he is filled with emotion, and he is downtrodden, and he's overwhelmed with the desire to worship and to, do all that stuff on this bit of chalky English ground. So Christ didn't die in London. He was killed in was it Jerusalem? Yeah, he was killed in Jerusalem. Yeah, he was killed in Israel on the cross. So is this metaphorical? What's he trying to say? Or she, Edith, that's a lady. All right. So Edith is a female given name derived from Old English words. All right, cool. So, what is Edith trying to say? I'm not sure. Maybe when she discovered her faith, her Christianity, a journey towards realizing who she ought to align her thoughts and her beliefs with. Maybe. I mean, it is called Where the Blessed Feet Have Trod, so it's almost you're walking that path to discovery of something greater than you are. That's what I think. Yeah, that's what I think anyway. I'm still fascinated by the imagery of the snail. I mean, a snail is slow. I don't know why it's plated. Does it have weave? Like an African woman? Or no, I don't know. Plated, it's like something that's wound and bound together, I suppose. But snail is slow, so maybe her journey is slow. Maybe she's referring to herself and that self. Yeah, I think that's a bit of a stretch, but could be. Bright upon the grass I see bleeding feet of Calvary. Yeah, on the grass. Why grass? That's why, yeah, this is probably definitely metaphorical. Like a vision that she's probably had. Chalky English ground. So almost like God is everywhere or Christ is everywhere. He'll find you wherever you are. Whether you're in heaven or in hell, whether you're in China or in Cancun, Jerusalem or Cameroon. I don't know. But the idea is that he's gonna find you if he wants to. And of course, because that reminds me of the Apostle Paul's conversion when Christ met him on the road to Damascus. So if you don't know that story because you're not a Christian or you've never read the Bible, then go pick it up. It's not that hard to read. Just pick it up. Don't be so close-minded. I'm making assumptions. I don't know you. But yeah. The Apostle Paul meets Jesus on the way to Damascus, and he's converted, and he's blinded for a few days because the light is so bright. Yeah. So I do like the title, Where the Blessed Feet Have Trod. It just has a nice celestial vibe to it. I'm not sure I'm fascinated by or captivated by the poem at all. There's a nice sort of, I was lost, now I'm found sort of theme. It was a little hard to read initially, but it does have a nice descriptive narrative that kind of, isn't too difficult to unravel. So that's Where the Blessed Feet Have Trod by Edith Cooper. So this is basically how the new format is going to be. I'm going to tell a really shitty story. Then I'm going to read a really shitty poem and try to figure it out. And I'll leave you to wonder why you just listened to whatever the hell it was you just listened to. No, but in all seriousness, I want to do this for, like I said, the first job, the third job. Each will have about 10 stories if I can manage it for the third one. Should be able to. So there'll be 2 seasons, maybe a few extras here and there. But yeah, that's the podcast. The Poetry Balls podcast. Thank you for listening. This is Tola. I'll catch you next time.